Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're super excited about this. We're really excited to have a webinar talking about we talk trade in turbulent times, all those T's. And we're very, very delighted to be doing that with the Tennessee District Export Council, represented by Paul and John here. And let's get started while the rest of you are just while the last of you are just logging on. We'll do some quick introductions. We have a pretty big topic and lots to talk about. So I'm not going to spend a long time introducing ourselves or going that. Just please know from the start, you will get a recording of this webinar and the slide deck. I think the slide deck, if you want a slide deck separately, send me an email and I'll send it to you, because otherwise it'll be too large for your inbox. So let's get started. Right, so some quick introductions, but I'm going to let Paul and John introduce themselves with more detail, and also particularly about the Tennessee deck. I'm joined by my colleague, Ava. Ava is the Strategic Partnership Manager at IBT Online, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about sort of the overall pictures and some of the big numbers coming in that we wanted to share with you. And then obviously Paul Bonovich he's also president of his own company, the CIS Quality Parts, based in Alcoa, Tennessee. But he's also president of the Tennessee District Export Council, and I'm sure known to many of you already. And I'm also joined by John, who I think probably many of you also know, also at his work in Tennessee. He is a partner for Womble Dixonson legal firm in Tennessee, has worked with many exporters and always provided a huge helping hand to American companies and American exporters in particular. A quick word also on us, Ava and I, as a company. So we're IBC Online is Ava, you do this one. You do this one. I'll get a sip of water. You do this one, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you can see, IBT Online, we are a full stack digital marketing company. That full stack means that we do websites, e-commerce, online marketing, etc. Essentially, we help companies. We listen to the company's needs, their go-to-market strategy. We talk about, whether they have a distributor network or whether they're going e-commerce, etc. But essentially, please do think of us as a tech company. Everything that we do is about leveraging digital strategies to make companies succeed in their chosen markets, whether those chosen markets are the domestic US market or Canada, Mexico, Europe, Africa, Asia, etc. You name it. We have people in-house that are dedicated to those markets. But we leverage localized digital strategies in order to have that digital accompaniment as the company is going into their market. So, the company has different objectives, the company has a different go-to-market strategy. We're going to top and tailor our services to make sure that they're leveraging everything to do with the web, everything to do with digital, in order to have a larger footprint in their target market. We're dedicated to helping America's businesses, America's exporters. And we have a lot of partnerships. We have a lot of staying power, essentially, because we are known in the space. We are known in the space of digital. And that means that we have throughout the years, we've created distinct partnerships and agreements with the different economic development agencies that are, as you can see from all the states that are in orange, are states that we have economic partnerships with the economic development agencies. And we also have a strategic partnership with the federal government, the U.S. Commercial Service International Trade Administration. So we accompany them, for example, when they go to a trade mission to Brazil, a trade mission to Thailand. We meet with those companies that say, I want to, do more in South Africa, et cetera. Okay, it's going to be all about tech companies. It's all going to be about mineral and mining companies, et cetera. So this strategic partnership, as well as the collaborations that we have with the economic development agencies, means that we're talking to the local businesses, understanding their problems, their challenges, and their go-to-market opportunities.
Thank you so much, Ava. Now, let's get down to our agenda so far today. What we thought we'd do is split it up into sort of 5 big parts. I'm going to let John and Paul talk a little bit first about the District Export Council, and then we're going to take it back and talk about how AI is influencing sales and marketing, especially for exporters. This is going to be important, and there's some really useful tools that you can now harness to supercharge your digital assets and make sure that you're considered the thought leader and the brand that you want to do. So as I've said, there is time at the end as well for Q&A. We welcome your questions. Pop them into the chat box, and we will try and respond as we get along. And we'll give you, as I said, a recording for this as well. We're really, really pleased and thankful that you've taken the time out of your day. We know that you're all busy running your companies, and in turbulent times, as we've said. So, we're really pleased that you could take that time out of your day. So I would suggest, turn off the phone, switch off the other screen, sit back with a cup of coffee and spend some time with us. Ask the questions that you've never had time to ask about AI, about digital, about exporting, and so on. And we're here to help. So with that, let's turn directly to what I've called the helping hand of the Tennessee DEC. Paul.
Thank you, Susanna, and good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Bonovich. I'm the chairman of the Tennessee District Export Council. The Tennessee District Export Council is a nonprofit organization that supports the U.S. Export Assistance Centers in Tennessee. We work closely with our trade partners throughout the state, which includes the Department of Economic Development for the state of Tennessee and the chambers statewide. We have a close collaboration with our West Tennessee DEC. The Tennessee District Export Council is made up of business people who have expertise in international trade, like John Scanapieko, who's joining me today. And we work to support local exporters and help them understand the benefits and value to their local communities in international trade, and primarily in terms of exports. As a DEC, we believe exporting U.S. goods is a form of economic diplomacy, and it is important that businesses throughout the state and third-party service providers who support that trade work together to facilitate trade. So thank you for being here, and I'll turn this over to John.
Thanks, Paul. John Scanapieko. I serve as the vice chair of the District Export Council, and I'll just kind of supplement a little bit what Paul was saying. I've been working in this space for over 30 years, and I originally thought or assumed that everybody knew they could export. And what I found over these decades is that many small and medium enterprises really don't know that they can export, or if they do, they don't understand maybe how to go about it. And that's something that we as the District Export Council have really tried to educate the community that exporting is a great way to grow your business, especially during turbulent times. Because let me tell you, the world really is interested in your markets. The U.S. or made in the U.S. or sold from the U.S. has a lot of cachet. And so we're trying to educate companies, and especially in our area around disadvantaged communities and communities that maybe otherwise haven't had access to resources. We've implemented some programs over the last couple of years targeting those communities as well to help grow those small and medium businesses.
Fantastic. And both Paul and John will be giving you some practical examples of how they've been using tools very recently, just right, fresh off the bat, as it were, to help them get more productive, get more reach into their export markets, and help their companies as well. In case of Paul, John. Right. Let's start a little bit more about. Hold on. Maybe just before we do this, let's launch a quick poll. Let's ask. I mean, we wanted to ask you whether you actually taken advantage of the Tennessee DEC. If you've already looked at the Tennessee DEC, have you spent any time? Are you already a member Uh, um, Thank you all for jumping on that so quickly. So have you already taken advantage of the Tennessee District Export Council? There's lots of you thinking, but only occasionally, and there's some of you not yet but interested. How about that? So hopefully we'll also get some people who are new to the DEX, and you can experience what that means and the services provided. Again, thank you all so much for jumping on to that poll. There'll be a few more coming up for that, but thank you. Right, now back to what we wanted to talk about here, the sort of global shift, AI and digital marketing and sales. Again, Ava, why don't you take this very first one of just
Yep.
showing essential headlines?
For sure, for definitely. I mean, so the global shift AI in digital marketing and digital sales, what we call smarketing. So your sales and marketing funnels and platforms, your tech stack. The rise of AI and the use and proliferation of AI in all of your processes is very much in line with what we've seen in the last 10 years of the use of the web and the use of digital. This is not news or not new information to anybody because we're all online today with a population of 8.18 billion, 70% of which have unique mobile phone subscriptions, and 67% of which are leveraging the internet. Social media as well goes up and up every single day. And now we're getting to a place where people are spending 7 hours, close to 7 hours per day. That changes according to the market, but it's an average of the world online. And those are some pretty staggering numbers. Now that AI has really come into the fold, what we're seeing is it's not just AI literacy for one particular service or one particular agency, it's AI across the board. And so how do you implement as a company AI strategies and in your tech stack as well?
Thank you very much, Ava. Yeah. So those are some big numbers. We wanted also to point out some of the big trends that we're seeing. And these are very much converging trends. They're interlinked trends. Data privacy and security is clearly one. Social commerce, buying things via apps, via influencers. This whole notion of personalization is really important. And it seems strange to be personalizing something that's 5 billion people are using at the same time. But this need, I want to go on the internet, but on a website, and I want that website to understand what I want, intuitively. E-commerce, obviously another one, and AI. So all of these are very interwoven things, and I think add to the complexity of doing business in today's world. When we talk about AI, I wanted to point out, and this is something that John feels also very strongly about. Generative AI is one aspect of AI. We've had machine learning and robotics for many years. I mean, machine learning was, in the Second World War, it was the 1940s, and Alan Turing and things like that. Robotics, obviously, in the 50s and 60s, 70s. Artificial neural networks came a little bit later, and now this shift into generative AI. But there are lots of different types of AI and lots of different types of it's not just all LLMs, in other words. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the differences and some of the ones that can really help you in terms of exporting. I guess the paradigm shift, the shift came with the launch of chat. That was such a very public launch. And as we've all seen, I think it was December 2022, there was a million followers after sort of 5 days or something. This was, I think, really proof of something Ava mentioned. People were really ready for this. The internet this is a natural progression of what we're seeing on the internet, both through digital marketing and so on, and then this creation of generative AI and how that is. I mean, the internet and the way the internet is structured is based on these algorithms. And digital marketing is based on AI, not always generative AI, but on AI. So that putting up ChatGPT was a very natural phenomenon and was quickly taking up the market. One of the things that interests me most is the stat there that on the right-hand side of your screen, 15% of ChatGPT users are in the USA. That's all. I find that pretty amazing. And again, when you're thinking of exporting, realize that your prospective clients are online, digitally savvy, using AI and so on. So reach out to them, know that buyer persona, and realize that they are very, very savvy in using their internet tools. Chat, the rise of chat is also seen then taking market share directly from the big players. It is taking, it's still, I mean, the world is still dominated completely by Google. Obviously, look at the numbers, 81 billion total visits per month. The number two, YouTube, also owned by Google, has 29 billion. You know, and chat is not quite even 4 billion. So it's really still dominated, but the speed at which chat and other AI are taking market share from these guys is really worth noting. It's very important, and how you understand your digital presence, your digital footprint, and what you need to be able to do on to reach out to your prospective clients in days like this. So here on the right-hand side, you've got the 10 top websites in the world a year ago, and on the left-hand side today, or end of February. Chat is now in 8th position. My personal bet is that you will see chat at around number 5 by the end of this year. And that translates, I mean, if you don't see this on it, you can definitely see this in your analytics. When you're looking at analytics, you starting to see, you know, Gemini, chat, and when we're looking at it for our clients, we will integrate plugins that allow us to see the amount of AI or searches that are coming via AI into your GA4, into your Google Analytics 4, so that you can really see how people and where people are coming from. And again, it's still small compared to the others, but it is rising fast. This is a screenshot from a client about 3 weeks ago. 3 months ago, chat wasn't there. And again, it's small compared to Google, but it's right below ThomasNet. And this is a B2B company. So you know, ThomasNet's going to be below chat next time we look at this. Well, again, just showing the incredible importance of this when you're looking at your digital assets, how important it is to understand that in order to be really relevant in today's market, really to circumvent it, you need to have an AI strategy. As I said, the internet really was founded on algorithms. The way it's structured is based on different types of AI. And you know, we use this all the time in digital marketing, all the time. All the search engine optimization tools, the content generation, the affiliate marketing, all those use AI tools. And when you think of yourself, when you go on to Amazon, you're buying, you know, a pen or something, and then it says, "Oh, if you like that pen, how about this pencil?" Well, that is an AI tool. And you know, if you're saying, if you know, this pen is at this price, are you interested in more? If you get more pens at a lower price, all those are AI tools. They're not always the generative AI tools you think of with ChatGPT, but they are predictive and market intelligent tools. So I'd also say that those LLMs, those big chat and so on, are a significant step up. They're very different from the other tools in that sense. But the AI tools are absolutely everywhere. I think it's also important to note that AI is here to stay. It is being adopted, as I said, worldwide, and I like to think that this is. Paul's not so sure about this, but for me, if you say that, or I can see some doubt on Paul's face, but I think that the AI today is the dumbest AI we're going to have. It is the least sophisticated that we're going to have. It is changing and developing very quickly. So I think that we're going to see enormous amounts of change coming in And really that's, I guess one of the reasons why we wanted to have these kind of webinars is to try and help, figure out what are the right kind of AI strategies to have as exporters and as small and mid-cap companies that want to reach beyond borders. A couple of questions you may want to think about for yourself and for your company, and I've just listed a few. And Eva mentioned before, we use the word smarketing, which is a combination of sales and marketing. It's very much interwoven. So one of the biggest challenges we see from our clients, from our companies, is how to integrate AI into their smarketing, how to align it with all their existing tech stack, how to integrate it with their in-house expertise, and how to make sure that all their employees are lifted at the same time. So a couple of questions here you might want to be asking yourself. How do you keep up with it? Does it require other changes to your tech stack? These are which tools should I choose, and how do I know if I've chosen the best ones? Or should I just let all my employees choose their own and then fight it out? Probably not a good idea in my view. Before we go on to the next one, let's do another poll here. Let's see, where's the polls? Let's do a poll on whether you're already using AI. Are you currently using AI? Where are the polls? There we go. Is your company already using generative AI in particular? Are you just starting? Are you dug in deep and across all the departments? I did not add no and we don't want to. So you got yes, you're enthusiastic, just starting, wish we were, or blank. So I did not add that as an option. Sorry about that. So you just have to not reply. Just to give you some feedback on that, I think many.
Could I add one comment here?
Please do.
On that last slide that you had up there, I think a lot of times what we're seeing is that a lot of companies will go out and look at a solution first. And so we have developed like a structured approach to kind of evaluating AI and whether AI is suitable for you, and then, how to choose and then implement. But one of the things I think is really important, it's to kind of, start with the specific business challenge that you're trying to solve. Start there, not with the technology itself, and then kind of ask yourself, what manual processes are consuming so much of my time, right? And then go and then where the bottlenecks are occurring, and I think that will lead you to whether there, do I need AI, and then or an AI enabled technology or solution, and then you go into that process. Too many times we see people, it's I remember back in the day in like the early 90s, oh, everyone's going to China, I have to go to China. Not really because maybe it made a lot of sense, right? But because everyone else was doing it. And I'm seeing the same thing now with AI. So I think it's really important for you to understand, is there something that you need solved that AI can help you with? So I think I just wanted to put that out there.
Very, very good point. Let me end that poll. And just getting back to those questions, I think that's a very, very good point. At the end of this, we're going to also talk through some sort of action items that you can take. And one of them is definitely looking at something, where are bottlenecks? Where is something that's a defined pain point for everybody that we can address? But that is a very, very valid point, something we very much applaud as well, John. Let's talk more about now. I've decided to sort of group this whole sort of value of digital marketing and sales into 4 areas, and how those 4 areas are being affected, and what tools you could possibly use for those 4 areas for the digital side. And the first one really is about your web presence and your digital presence, on your online presence. And in particular, just starting out with a website, what is the basics of that, and that whole notion of being relevant to your buyer persona, and that's the key to any kind of sales and marketing efforts that you want to do, especially if you're looking at exporting, is understanding who is my buyer persona. How do they find me? How do they localize me? And it's not up to them to find you. It's up to you to be able to be found. If you see what I mean. This notion of this localization is incredibly important and very important for any of the tools that you would use. So that's sort of a basis for it. And I'll give you an example of that a little bit later on. One of the big tools that we're seeing in terms of website localization are their real life and very powerful tools that are being come out now for helping websites become more flexible, more plastic, more able to be personalized to individual markets. Whether that's translation tools which are at long last don't make you smile and laugh, but actually translate properly. SEO tools that are really, really important. And SEO has really also changed a lot, and I'll talk about that as well. And then this whole sort of user experience called UX, the user experience, and how people navigate both websites, but also digital marketing and how they access information. That changes. Different markets, different target markets access and digest information differently. And that's important to be aware of, I guess, when you're looking at these individual markets. AI has been incredibly impactful. It's one of the first things you'll see is that it's impacted SEO strategies. Search engine optimization strategies are very much changed because of AI. And remember that slide where I showed you the chat taking market share from the Googles and Facebooks of the world. The way people look and the way people search on using AI tools is very different from using Google tools. And therefore, that keyword research and that SEO strategy is it's not to be thrown out completely, but it is no longer as impactful. You can't just rely on having the right keyword to be found organically anymore. People search in a very different way. And therefore, there's something also now called generative engine optimization. So that's so kind of supplanting SEO is now GEO. And when we're looking at any digital asset, we try and combine this two so that you get that well. If you want more information on that, I will put, or maybe Ava, if you could put a link to a blog about GEO. I think the way to think about it best is if you just simplify it and say, for Google people use Google for what questions? What time is it? What time is my train? What is what is this? What is that? How do I? But they use chat for problem solving. How do I incorporate this product into my processes? How do I integrate this into my logistics platforms? So much more complex questions, much more how to questions rather than the what questions. And so you'll see a lot more of FAQs really, or the type of content people are writing is bigger, more, not necessarily longer, but more about here's your pain point, here's the solution. And that is generating very good sort of responses for it. And remember, as we said earlier, only 15% of ChatGPT users are in the States. So you can be sure that your prospective client in Germany or in Colombia or in Japan are using similar or the same AI tools, and they're searching in those ways too. So having that kind of very, very high quality content is actually more important than it was in the past. So the first thing I said those 4 pillars. The first pillar that I wanted to mention then was about the digital assets, your websites, the tools that are about that, this notion of GEO versus SEO. The second big pillar of any kind of AI tools that you could get onto right now is market-driven or AI-driven market intelligence. And this is absolutely transformative. And you can use it for competitors, you can use it for market research, you can do, and what interests us actually, or me actually the most, actually is how you can use it for predictive analysis in your marketing. I wanted to also turn to Paul now to give us an example of a real life example of
Thank you. My name is Paul Bonovich. I'm the president of CIS Quality Parts and Components. I started the company 30 years ago in an incubation center. And in the 30 years' time since we've been running the business, the market and the export markets have changed tremendously and significantly. We sell parts and components for mining equipment. We also are an authorized reseller of power generation solutions. In the past, since the beginning of the year, I've been on trade missions to 4 different countries. I'm going on a trade mission next week to another country. I use AI for really for AI-driven market intelligence. I think AI for a small business, a small and medium business, is an equalizer that provides us with the tools and resources that large corporations have or have access to. So in a very short period of time, I can engage and interact with AI to understand market opportunities, market size. I've used it to analyze potential prospects, understand their size, their problems, their challenges, and then before I even meet with them on a trade mission, develop solutions to provide them. So I see AI in having or providing small and medium-sized businesses and exporters better information about what market trends look like overseas, who their potential customers can be, what are the immediate either projects or products that we can offer into a market. And we have been that is a tremendous has changed tremendously in a year or two. Historically, I think we used trade shows as a way to understand what's happening overseas. It afforded us the opportunity to speak with people, find out what's happening in different parts of the world. Now AI has been one of the prime resources that we use to understand what's happening in specific markets and how to flex towards the most immediate opportunities.
Paul, if I could just ask you, did you use a particular one, or did you use a series of different AI tools, or are there ones that you like more than others?
Yeah, I'm using ChatGPT, and I have the Pro version, and it allows me to really dig deep into specific market questions. I like ChatGPT because I can also develop marketing materials at the same time. So what would normally take me 3 to 4 days to do prior to a trip, I finish it in an hour or two, or even less sometimes. So it really allows me to make sure I'm prepared for my meetings. I have um, intelligent conversations with our customers and prospects, and I provide products that they can look at and evaluate immediately. Now, I take it a step further and compare my products to what they could be using, and ChatGPT provides a comparative analysis that's excellent for what we're looking for.
Fantastic. Okay. Great. A fantastic example. Thank you very, very much for that. And I hope that resonates also with some of our audience today in terms of what they could do in terms of speeding up their own processes for exporting. So that first one that we talked about, that first pillar was about your digital assets, websites, GEO. The second one is about market intelligence. I think Paul gave a fantastic example of the type of of use cases that you can have with using AI, not just chat, but other AI. I wanted also to say another sort of big pillar, especially for exporters, that you can really now punch above your weight and much more is with e-commerce. E-commerce is a tremendously impactful way of developing your international sales, but it's competitive. And one of the reasons it's competitive is because of Amazon. So we all have this personal experience of Amazon being, very price competitive and fast and rapid shipping and all this stuff, and very intuitive. And we expect that to be on the B2B side as well. So even B2B e-commerce, people are saying, well, can I get it tomorrow? And it's like, well, no. So it is a competitive place. It's hard. But with AI and with tools that are available today, when we're helping our clients with their AI, with their e-commerce, we're introducing tools that help really personalize the whole experience, even for B2B or request a quote, build a cart experiences, and allowing them to stay more competitive. I've listed here, this the one of the major things that changed with these tools is this sort of what's called hyper personalization. When people go on to websites today and e-commerce websites, including B2B ones, they want to say, okay, I don't want you to select the product for me. I want to select the product, and I want to have this kind of product and that kind of configuration. So I want to sort of, we're building so many line configurators at the moment. We want this kind of thing. We want that kind. I want to turn that product upside down and shake it online so I can see what it looks like before I call anybody, before I contact anybody. So there's a lot more of that personalization that goes along in today's websites. But that whole personalization means better engagement. You're basically creating market qualified leads or sales qualified leads that your salesman can then engage with. So these MQLs are there. They've shown an interest up to a certain point. It's now that point where your salesman can then pick up the phone and say, hey, I noticed that you're interested in that product. And can I suggest this and this and this? So they're very empowering for companies. And again, lends itself very much to the international world. These chatbots, which used to be terrifically annoying and always popping up in the wrong place and with the wrong imagery, some of them are really good. Some of them, it takes quite a lot of training and effort, but they can actually be an enormous help on your website. They can be in multilingual and answer question.
Hey, Susanna, can I add a comment there, which I think is kind of interesting? So on a recent ChatGPT engagement, I was looking to identify the opportunity for selling power to data centers in Brazil. And so ChatGPT walked me through a process in which it helped me understand the market. It identified who the key data center companies were. It identified the key procurement person. It prepared a flyer for me. It translated it into Portuguese. It then did an introductory letter for me in Portuguese, and it provided me with an email address. This was done in about 30 minutes. Now, that would normally take a trip to Brazil and a week on the ground to figure all of it out. But you're able to do it right from your desk, or I was able to do it right from my desk, and initiate a contact with someone I had never met before. It then linked me with that person on LinkedIn. And so there was this whole integrated approach to a very customized and personalized engagement to generate a sales opportunity. So I think, use that example to echo what you've.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paul. That was fantastic, because it's that personalization, and it's strange, intellectually strange to me, because it's on the web, it's internet, but I want it personalized, and I want to have that personal engagement with it. And you can get that now with some very smart tools that are totally within the reach of small and mid-cap exporters, U.S. exporters. I wanted to list the types of AI tools that are generally used because we all know or think about, the machine learning ones or sort of the big generative ones. And I just wanted to say that there's a lot of other tools that are really important in today's world for digital tools. One of the ones that I like most is computer vision, the CVs. Um, a lot of tools today, and chat is an example, scan things visually, so they look at imagery as much as they look at words, so that your imagery and the alt tags that you apply to imagery and the video is in growing importance. If you take away one thing, make sure your imagery is good. And, get more videos, get more. So that CV, the computer vision, is a growing trend and increasingly empowering for learning and for using tools. The other one is obviously the natural language processing, NLPs, and those are what we talked about, the customer support and chatbots and so on. And then the MLs are basically for dynamic pricing, forecasting demand, and so on. So that's the third big pillar that I wanted to mention. The fourth really is about scalable content and e-commerce growth that comes with it, and that whole aspect of content localization. And I think Paul's already given us some good examples of that for the content localization as he's preparing his Brazil trips to Brazilian data centers using chat for the personalized letters. But there's a lot of tools now that can give you dynamic pricing, the whole aspect of engaging with the media, product descriptions, all the SEO tagging, all that endless work you used to do about metadata can now be. I mean, we use a tool that does the whole thing, the whole website in one go for the metadata. So that's really very great productivity gain as well. Yeah, and then another shout out to video content for that. So scalable content. We do like to emphasize one thing. This is, and this should be understood throughout this and the whole discussion. It can be AI infused, but it's always a human oversight. So you're not just launching things into the void. You're not doing things just sort of just relying purely on. I mean, I'm sure that Paul, when he gets those data, he looks at his thing, says, "That's the right product. That's it. Yes." A good proofread of what's going on, making sure that it's absolutely online for that. We wanted also to give you, hold on, there we go, some practical applications. And I'm going to ask John to speak up here, but just, some of those big things that we've talked about, whether it's the analytics, whether it's, looking at new markets and the research that you need, whether it's e-commerce or content. There are aspects that you can get for all of those things to help you drive your revenue up. And then John, you want to give a practical explanation of our example?
Yes. So I also serve as a senior advisor for a non-legal business advisory firm, Presentis, and that firm has within it focuses on payment processing, national security, defense, and then global business advisory. And within that are AI experts. And so working with them, we help companies develop AI-enabled tools that they can use around their e-commerce sites, for example, especially around payment processing, to make that more efficient and cost-effective. And then another tool we're working on now that kind of combines generative AI, which is what we're all familiar with, the Chat GPT, with deterministic AI, which is what is used. It's based on rules and algorithms when you need to get that very precise, correct answer every single time. So like math or things like that. So we're working with companies that are troubled by, they want to make sure, especially around export compliance, that they are exporting their products correctly, or even for importers as the importer of record, to make sure, are they using the right HTS code. We've seen a lot of HTS kind of code engineering right now to deal with the tariffs. Have they correctly identified the country of origin? Again, we're seeing, as exports from China to the U.S. dropped, exports from China to Asia went up, and so people are wondering, are they just sticking a "Made in Vietnam" label? I really need to make sure that that's correct. And even if I'm the one doing it, because ultimately my customers, if I get them in trouble, I'm going to lose my sales. And then even the calculation of the tariffs, and are the invoices generated correctly? And so we're using these tools that we have, and then we're creating AI-enabled technology that then can be used and rolled out for different companies. Because one of the things we're seeing, and we think we've all seen in the news, the Department of Justice in the United States is maybe reducing enforcement, like of FCPA, so Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. They're reducing enforcement in other areas. Well, it doesn't mean those folks are just going to go home and not do anything. One area we're seeing stepped up enforcement is around tariff evasion. And so one of my colleagues developed an AI-enabled tool that the government is using right now to identify trade-based money laundering. And what we've seen is the methods by which folks will engage in that behavior are the same methods that people will use to evade tariffs. So we're now kind of refining that tool, and we see the government using AI to track and identify potential tariff evasion. And so, because of course, as we all know, the tariff revenue is going to be a big part of our budget. And so this is an area that I think folks that are exporting or importing really need to focus on, because it's an area we see some additional enforcement. But, I think you've already hit on some other areas in terms of lead generation, buying, by identifying or even vetting, qualifying buyers. But we see it a lot now in just making sure that what we're sending out is in compliance with the laws and customs of all these different countries, not just the U.S.
Really interesting, and a great example. It's also a good example of how many different types of AI tools there are now, just being developed everywhere for all kinds of pain points. So to your first comment, John, about identify a big pain point that you have for the company. There's someone's working on some solutions. You want to figure out which ones work for you best. Okay, moving on. I did want to just add one slide, and this is almost the subject of a whole other thing, is that we would recommend really that the board, the senior management of a company takes responsibility. There has to be, AI is a huge tool. It is a very powerful thing. There's a lot of in there. So management, even if you're a small company, you've got to make sure that you've got some thoughts about how it's being used in your company, who's got positions for what, where is the human oversight, how are you maintaining control, and who's accountable for what. So I mean, this is probably more John's field than mine, but we would really think that guardrails and having very senior management involved in putting up those compliance and regulations within the company and leading it is really important. And I wanted to add that quote from the Marketing AI Institute. One of the biggest challenges of implementing AI is actually getting everybody, up to speed. How do you get your whole team lifted in terms of productivity? Where the court, you do some online court, there's lots of resources, and we'll give you some resources at the end of this webinar.
And can I add here? I think one area that's really important, especially if you're going to use a vendor solution, is understanding how your data is going to be used. Okay, I think that's really important. How is it stored? Because again, depending on where you may be in the world, there are all sorts of, well, even in the United States now with all the different states, data privacy, data protection laws, but really understanding what is going to happen with that data to make sure that if you're not okay with your data being used by these companies and selling it to marketers or other companies, you really need to understand that and make sure that your agreements fit within your expectations and maybe what your legal obligations may be, depending on where you are and where you're doing business.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for that, John. Let's launch a poll. Let's ask. We wanted to ask you if you want more information on AI. We'll send you we'll point you in the right direction, send you some blogs. Would you like to learn more about it? We won't necessarily contact you. We'll send you some guidance, some blogs, some infographics, some further things like that if you have an interest in that. Again, thank you very much for that. Thanks. That's great. Let's close that poll. Thank you. We want to talk through quickly. I'm realizing time is running along, so we're going to go some quick use cases. One of the first things we talked about, and one of the first things is talking about is necessary for anyone looking at digital, is market intelligence about your buyer persona. And something I mentioned in the very beginning. But for example, when Paul goes on to a trade mission, he's already done the research on his buyer persona. That's the example he gave. He's already seen who is it, what do they like, what is their position, how do they, what are their issues, what are they worried about, what are their pain points. That's what that whole market intelligence can get you now with that buyer persona. And knowing that international buyer persona may be very different from your local buyer persona. So the buyer persona you have in your Tennessee market might even be very different from the buyer persona that you're targeting in, I don't know, Michigan. Even that can be different. So knowing that as a salesman gets really important as a sales and marketing qualified person. So this is an example of L'Oreal USA, by the way. They think that their buyer personas are all women. Guess what? But some questions you might want to ask yourself. How does my international buyer persona find me? How do they interact with me? How do they engage with me? And most importantly, I think from our point of view, is in what way is that buyer's journey different from what you can expect in your local market? And one of the reasons why we look at that is because people react in different ways. And that reaction is very visible on the web. It's very trackable. The analytics are always there. So this is an example of how a Canadian reacts. And we were very pleased with that 1,200 engagements. Thank you very much. That is hard to get in that frosty market. But Brazil, blood out of the water. 20,000 engagements. People are sending us baby pictures. And this is a B2B. This is ball bearings, by the way. Oh no, motor bearing. This is large industrial component things. So a very, very different reaction because the buyer's journey is different. So it's important to understand not just the local buyer persona, but how they interact with you and what their journey is in order to actually engage with you and sign the contract. Couple of examples as well is just some of the examples as well in terms of use cases is using digital assets, fine-tuning those digital assets. Take your existing digital assets and say, how do I make them better? How do I improve them? I don't need to throw everything out, because then you'll be destroying domain authority. But how do I get them now to work better for me, to work harder for me, using tools that are now available? And there are a lot of tools that are now available for user experience, for SEO and GEO, and that whole e-commerce that I talked about earlier. So a few use cases of this, I did want to put this out as well. Digital marketing as a whole is shifting, and the way people are looking at digesting information on the web is shifting. And it has been accelerated because of the introduction of AI. So just a couple of stats here. The average person in the USA at work gets over 120 emails. That's the average person. And if you think about it, you think, actually, that's probably about as many as I get. Open rates are now in sharp decline. Open rates are down to like average 21%, according to MailChimp. Forbes in 2023 are saying buyers now skim white papers and rarely finish them. Forbes' recommendation is that you have content that is digestible within 60 seconds. So scrunch that white paper into 60-second nugget. That's all that people will digest. Bounce rates up 14%. So that old-fashioned kind of digital marketing where you sent out emails and all this stuff is less and less effective. The thing that interests me most is that social media saturation. Declining organic search on LinkedIn, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. And remember that slide we had in the beginning as ChatGPT takes market share from the big guys, pulling market share down. So that's some of the effect of this. So the way you interact with your customers, your clients, your prospects has to change as well. And then I just wanted to say, always at the back of it, and always at the core, is what is my return on investment, and how do I track it? What's my key performance indicator, and how do I track it? And does it change over time? And again, there are bigger and better tools being brought out every day and being integrated. So we're, as I said earlier, we're now integrating GA4 together with all AI tools to get really strong AI analytics. So just a few ones we have. Amsoil, lovely Wisconsin company. We've been doing international marketing for about 10 years now and managed their international websites, about 6 or 7 of them. Because of AI tools now, we are able to personalize the content generated for their distributors at a much finer grain. It's not necessarily that it's more productive or faster, it's that it's at a much more granular level that we're able to do this. So that builds lead generation for their distributors. And equally, that whole localization of the social media approach, adding the imagery, the text, the keywords, the putting it into the user experience is now being able to be, again, much more plastic, much more flexible than it ever was with them. And that, again, is for lead generation. Website design and redesign is now being done and led by AI-infused tools to make sure that websites respond to the correct user experience for this. I'm zipping through this because I'm aware of time. And social media marketing equally, being able to localize that for target markets. This is really important when you get on to trade shows and you're able to have very rapid changing social media for trade shows, which show the every moment of the day virtually if you wanted to have it. And that's a lot more fun. It's a lot more inviting for the audience and to show the real time. Action plan. Again, the future of sales, very much digital first. We start with a website because it's still, at least for now, the core and the basis of things. But what we would recommend is step one is really to assess the digital export readiness. This gets back to what John was saying earlier, is, are we ready to do this? Is this something that is a good idea for us? And even just looking at your existing digital assets, start with your website. Is it fit for purpose? And are your digital assets ready for AI? For that? And as the deck would often say, they do a lot of export readiness trials and export tech and all these courses to help companies get export ready. digital export ready is part of that in today's world. For us, if you want to roll out AI, identify where AI fits into your sales and marketing, your marketing funnel. That's the hardest part to put it. It's the part that's most people's pain points, and is the part where people are will find it most useful, most impactful for their productivity. As Paul was giving us examples, exactly that, integrating AI into saying, here's my trip to Brazil for power gen. How do I do this? Where's my marketing tech? Who am I contacting? Here's the research. All of that is on integrating AI into a marketing funnel. Step 3, clearly ring fence a project and say, that is what we're going to try and do in AI. And it's going to be led by the senior management of the company. It is exactly defined. It is defined in time and space and resource, and we're going to see if we can do this. And it's the CEO is taking responsibility for this, top down, and it's led by them. So those are our step 1, 2, and 3. Further learning, some assets for you. Tennessee District Export Council is an asset. Please use it. Get in touch. Check out their website. Be part of them and reach out and join that community. There's a ton of stuff on our websites as well, on the resource side. If you have an interest, there's lots of free downloadables. I would recommend as well the HubSpot. There's lots of free downloadables on that one too, on sales and marketing for international as well. And then there's a bunch of books. Some of us still like reading. What can I say? There we go. We're done. And I'm sorry we're slightly over our time. We do have 1 or 2 questions coming in, and I would just like to address 1 or 2 of them. First, I think to John. When you talk about a tool like that, is that something that you're going to be commercializing?
It all depends. I think that's where it'll end up if it works like we think it will work. But it's like anything else, the devil's in the details. And but we're hopeful, especially because of the volatility with tariffs. They're changing so rapidly that we see a real need. So hopefully we'll be able to get this rolled out in the next 5 to 6 months, 3 months, 5 months. That's the goal.
This year, anyway.
Well, no, hopefully before then. So hopefully.
Paul, a quick question for you is, when you're doing all this research on your prospects, how do you know that there are no hallucinations? How do you know that it's correct information?
That's a good question. I mean, there's always a process of validating what you read and what information you're provided. It's just a part of the sales cycle of processing the information, validating it, discussing, initiating conversations with prospects or people in the market, and determining the veracity and authenticity of the information provided.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of other questions in there as well. I think, though, we will call it a close. We promised 1 hour. We're slightly over. I will send direct email responses, or we will send email responses to, especially to Ursula, also to Bill about generative and chat. I want to say a big thank you to John and Paul and the Tennessee DEC for allowing us this opportunity and sharing this opportunity with you to talk about trade in turbulent times and some of the tools that we've been seeing and helping clients with. And to Ava, thank you very much as well for helping me in all this. And most of all, to all of you for attending and taking the time. We respect your time very much. Sorry we went over a little bit today. We hope to see you on the next event, or in person would be even better. Hopefully drop by for a cup of coffee. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey,